We back. We back, 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 back. We back. We back. We back. It's getting warm. All right, Florida, let's get it.
That's much more acceptable in Florida.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's not all the way warm like it should be, but it's way. Greetings and welcome back once again. Woo! Yeah! I feel like today. Hallelujah! What's up, everybody? Told the baby, shh, I'm about to go live for the morning drive. That's what I should call it, live on the morning drive. 40 years later, 40 years later, after the wilderness comes the promised land. That's what I named this one. Yep. That's what I want to talk about today. The significance of 40. As I'm rounding the corner to this 4.0, I'm starting the celebration early. You know how the people be like, oh, it's my birth month or my birth week. I'm starting the celebration early for a different reason, not balloons and cake type celebration, but that wilderness mentality type celebration, where something was supposed to take, I'm talking about biblical scripture here, something was supposed to take a couple of weeks at most, leaving out of Egypt, according to the narrative, to the promised land. But it took 40 years. It took 40 years, and the large number of people who left passed away into the wilderness because a new thought had to be birthed. And I thought that was significant. There you see a lot of significant things happening when at a 40-year mark, even here, they'd be like, oh, 40 years old. I don't know what it is fully, but for me, this whole wilderness experience since the time I was born till now has really been like, you've had the dark places in the wilderness, you know what I mean, where you can't even see in front of you. You know what I mean? Pitch black, you lack understanding, you in the deep depths in the valleys, and then you have like certain little moments where you could kind of see the promised land. I'm talking about spirit and within the soul, right? You have moments, I had moments where I could see it, and then it's like, whew, it was, you know what I mean? And then back down into the valleys and all that stuff. And now I can look kind of like back at my journey to this point and be like, wow, now I begin to see clarity. Biblically, when the children of Israel wandered for that long, the old thoughts, the old people, the old paradigms had to die off, because the new place in which they was going to, it couldn't go with them. So if you remember the story, it was only Joshua and Caleb who were of that generation who was able to enter in, because they had a different mentality. It's all about mentality and mindset, right? It's all about mentality and mindset. So when I say that, for as long as we have been carrying our trauma, carrying our inheritance, right? For as long as we've been carrying that mentality, and for as long as we're surrounded by those who still have those mentalities, the children back to school today. As long as we are surrounded by those who still have and still subscribe to those mentalities, that's how long we stay in the dark place. If you look at wilderness, there could be different things, like a barren place, a dry place, you know, a place that you don't really want to be, you know what I mean? But it was the place that was stopping you from, or let me see, the passage from bondage, which was what Egypt represented, a place of bondage. And I'm talking about spiritual Solonomics, y'all. It was the passage from bondage, which is what Egypt represented. Then you pass through this place where all of these things are brought up. Let's say you're going to have an opportunity in the wilderness to see who you really are before you can get to your inheritance, before you can get to what was promised you. And so I think for me, of all the times I look back at all the different ages that I've turned, all the different revolutions around the sun, this one seems more significant because early on, I knew that I was in the wilderness, weirdly. Like my first book, I named Bamidbar, in the wilderness. That's what Bamidbar means, in the wilderness. The first book. And that first book was a self-help book. And I wrote that very, very early on. So that first book was a self-help book, but it was like Solonomics in seed form. You know what I mean? It was like Solonomics in seed form, where it talked about looking at yourself, examining yourself as one would do in the wilderness, and see what comes out. You know what I mean? So I've always kind of been on this road here, and as I'm entering into this 40-year marker, things that were once shadows in the distance, you know what I mean? Things that once plagued my mind. Hey, good morning. Things that once plagued my mind, things that once left me baffled and bewildered, are now clear. And some people may say that material things is what they ask for when they're 40 or when they're whatever, material things, you know what I mean? But I think because I so much press towards this spiritual understanding and this soul cleansing, that to me this is like the greatest gift, clarity of mind. You know what I mean? Clarity of mind, so that you can have focus, so that you can say, now with intention, this is the direction that I aim to go in. And when I get there and on my journey there, I can be satisfied. Because some people have goals and intentions that they set based on the old paradigm, based on, they said that doctors and lawyers are the only people who get respect in this world. So my mother said I was going to be a doctor. My father said I had to be a lawyer, and I did that. And I went to school, and I da-da-da-da-da, and I spent all the money, and I did all of that. And then when I got there, I didn't like it. You know what I mean? When I get there, this is not what I do. Because although they were clear, it was somebody else's desire for them that had nothing to do with the true person. It had to do with social norms and acceptance and what's going to give you clout and standing in this society. But at the end of the day, when they sat still amongst themselves and reasoned with themselves, there was no peace there. So then you see people who are willing to get up and walk away or have midlife crises. You know what I mean? You see people get to a point where they're at, where people say, all right, now you should hit cruise control, and you're in a crisis, a midlife crisis. So I like to share that early on I had a quarter life crisis. At 20, I'm looking like, oh no, I don't know how I know that this is not the way, but this is not the way, and everybody at 20 is looking at me like, oh man, you tripping, what is wrong with you? I'm like, but this is not the way. I don't know what the way is, but I know this is not the way, and I gotta find a way, because I know that this is not it, and something is wrong. And everybody around me, with the exception of my mother, who just encouraged me to say, just keep going. It'll come. You'll understand. And you know what I mean? That encouraging, that even if you don't know, and I don't know, you will find out one day. Hallelujah. Shout out to my moms. Shout out to my moms. Calling, crying. Oh, what is wrong with you? I don't know. We're taking the babies to homeschool PE today, peoples. Hollering, I don't know what's wrong with me. I just, like, deep down in the depths of my soul, and this is why I share. They would say, why you share? This is why I share. I share because when I was in a space, I needed someone to share. But the majority of people who were around me was sharing something else, because they wasn't on that frequency of vibration at that time. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't normal for, I don't tell people to do this, but it wasn't like I was in school, I was in college, and I wasn't trying to go to class. because just something wasn't right. You know what I mean? And I would sit, it's a true story. I would sit and they had like a nice little, it was called an MLK walkway. It was in Tampa. And they used to have this, like a granite pool, like a water fountain thingy. And they had like the little trellises, you know what I mean? And they had the little benches. And I would sit there and I would sit by the water. I would sunbathe. Yeah, I would sunbathe and just think about life. Watch people running by to and fro, like rushing. And I'm like, man, there's something weird about this stuff right here. You know, under stress. Oh, if I don't pass this exam, da 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 da. I'm like, you know. And some classes I would go to, but then on days that I'm like, nah, I'm good. And I wouldn't go. And then that's how I eventually ended up like, I'm gonna take a break from all of this so I don't rack up any debt, you know what I mean? And I'll be back. And I knew at that time not to rack up debt too. It's like I knew weird things that at that time, many, you know what I mean? But I just didn't have it. All the pieces were like discombobulated. They were all over the place, turned backwards. The puzzle, you know, the puzzle was missing some pieces, but some things I did know. Praise be to the Creator. So I'm just sharing in my little joyful moment right now of being able to look back through all of that and say, after the wilderness does come the promised land. Even if the promised land is not, it's not just a physical place. It's a place of peace and prosperity. I'm gonna get a little metaphysical on y'all. It is a physical place, and it is also a place because there's many people that got into the promised land. If you go back to the biblical narrative, there's many people who are the children of those who passed and perished in the wilderness, who got into the promised land, but did not go through the process. And so that seed that was deposited from their parents sprung up again. Those weeds, those inclinations, those things that their parents suffered from sprung back up in the next generation. And this is why you see Israel never really having peace in the promised land. So there's some people who would fight the narrative and say, oh, this, that, and that, but look at what it's talking about. And then you will begin to, on a metaphysical level, you will begin to understand certain things about we the people. If you put in front of you the promised land, and shout out to those who will join us and those who will come later, but if you put as the promised land something that you desire, a goal, because the promised land was a goal for the nation, right? So let's backtrack a little bit, because we're going to parallel. I like paralleling because sometimes people can't see themselves in the text until they see themselves in the text, right? So let's rewind the story. Let's rewind the story. I'm in the mood today, y'all. Let's rewind the story. Starting back with humanity, because I kind of have to start there, because sometimes people don't understand, like, what was the people chosen for? And ain't nobody better than nobody else, and this, that, and the third. So let's rewind the story. Humanity was created for a purpose. And that purpose was to rule and govern the earth and to kind of be the managers of creation. Okay? Man deviated from said purpose. When somebody is a manager, a custodian, or a guardian, they're not the ones who make the rules. The person who's hired you or employed you is the person or the entity that makes the rules of which you have to abide by. Man deviated from that and began to make their own rules, some of which included suppressing mankind, exploiting their labor, violating creation. And so mankind deviated into worshiping of self, worshiping of things created, all of which were violations to the rules. So down through history, the biblical narrative reveals that the creator, the one who's responsible for the creation and the hiring of mankind, decides that, okay, the people have elected not to abide by the rules. When you don't abide by the rules, all kind of stuff pop up. Let's just say that, okay? So it's like Now the narrative comes in with saying, well, I need to get a new manager. I need to get a new custodian. I need to build a whole new team. Somebody's in network marketing, or somebody's in real estate, or they're in whatever, and they're like, hey, I need to build a whole new team. Because if I don't build a whole new team, this thing is not going to go the way I need it to go. So the creator's like, yo, Abraham, I'm going to build a new team with this guy. You know, he listens, he follows instructions, and I need somebody who's going to listen and follow instruction. And I'm going to give you the package. I'm going to give you the perks of what's going to happen because I'm hiring you. So you get your salary, and then you get commission, and then you get perks, and you get all of these things. So that's basically what the conversation to Abraham is. Like, listen, I'm paraphrasing now, just to give the overview, to get to the point that I'm trying to talk about. So Abraham, he gets tested, he goes through the process, and then he gets hired. And one of the promises is that I'm going to make a downline, which is your descendants, and they're going to inherit this place here, because the people who are currently here are not doing what needs to be done. And this particular location, which is what people is calling the land of Canaan, this particular location is a special location. And so these people who are currently here cannot continue to be here, violating this space. We see that all over. Like, if somebody is in a spot, and that spot is allocated for whatever, and the people are not taking care of the spot, or they're destroying the spot, they're doing whatever, they have to get evicted from that spot so it could be restored. If somebody is in a historical national site, let's say, for instance, they have those, right? The historical national site, and they're in there, and these things are supposed to be preserved because it's a historic national site, and the person is coming to destroy it. Then what are you going to do? You're just going to sit there and be like, oh, just let them have it? Or you can be like, yo, you got to get out. They could say they was living there, whatever the case may be. So that's kind of the narrative that's happening in the text, is that the Canaanites are in this site, and this site is not just an everyday site, and they're violating it through their actions. They're corrupting it through their deeds. You know what I'm saying? They're defiling it through their practices. And the conversation is that they have to go. And I'm going to put your downline, Abraham, in this spot, providing that you don't do what they were doing to get them kicked out. That's basically what the overview of that conversation, when people don't understand one person is better than. In order to be somewhere, you have to abide by these rules, because this is the way that this space operates. And the intention was, when other people see you operating correctly, then they would be more inclined to subscribe to the sets of laws that you're subscribing to, and then the place will come back into order, because people were put here to govern. A lot of people are looking for God. Why isn't God doing this? Or why isn't it? Mankind forgets that was your job. It's your job. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times mankind wants the creator to do that which they're supposed to do. It's your job not to steal. It's your job not to murder. It's your job not to lie. These things, breaking these commandments, is what causes the earth to be out of alignment. It's like, for instance, because I like parallels. It's like saying, why didn't the manufacturer, you driving your car up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Manufacturer says, hey, change your oil every 3,000 miles. You over here telling me, why didn't the manufacturer change the oil? I thought that was your job. You know what I'm saying? Why didn't the manufacturer rotate tires? The manufacturer gave you tires. So now if you're driving and you're driving a lot, it's your job to rotate the tires. Why didn't the manufacturer come and put gas in my car? Because it's your job to put gas in your car. If you can understand what it's your job to maintain that which you have. So a lot of things people putting on the creator is because they don't want to take responsibility for the fact that you were supposed to be doing that, and then because you dropped the ball, then things are out of alignment. But so as that I don't go so far left with the conversation. When the children of Abraham, which went through Isaac and went through Jacob, did not come into alignment, did not fully subscribe to and practice that which they were supposed to practice, they ended up in a certain precarious situation, which is enslavement, bondage, right? When we don't govern ourselves, ultimately that's where people end up. For instance, if you have an addiction and you're unable to govern yourself, what do you become? You become in bondage or enslaved to that desire. Whether it be gambling, whether it be drinking, whether it be something nefarious. If you don't govern yourself, then you become enslaved to that desire. Now, people enslaving you is a macrocosm, and the desire enslaving you is the microcosm of the same thing, which is something else is controlling your will, your actions, and your movements. Something outside of you. What was I going to say now? Oh, I was trying to get to the 40 years, right? So in enslavement, a lot of things come into your thought processes and your mind. And a lot of actions you adapt so that you can stay alive and survive. And we tend to, we're reading about enslavement right now. We're reading about Uncle Tom's Cabin. You know, I got this wild, interesting comment today on a video I did like 4 years ago. But on the underground, time is flying, man. Time is flying. But when you're enslaved, these things, the spirit is depressed or oppressed and suppressed, right? So different aspects of the person comes out during enslavement. Once you come out of that, you have to do an audit of the things that you allowed in your spirit, the things that was forced in your spirit, the things that you compelled to do that compromised your spirit. A lot of people look at the immediate, which is now, okay, we're looking at the children in enslavement and bondage. And a lot of people are looking at the immediate. I just want to be free. That's the immediate. I want this pain to stop. I want this. If you have a headache, some people, they go pop Tylenols or aspirin because they want the pain to stop. You enslaved, you want the pains to stop. You want to be released from this enslavement. So that's the initial thought. But what happens after that, depending on where you go to, it may go from being enslaved to just trying to stay alive, just trying to survive. And that transition doesn't allow much for processing the old junk out of the system. Like, it doesn't allow much for detox. It doesn't allow much for this detox process that kind of needs to happen, if you can understand what I'm saying. So a lot of people go around with the toxins in the spirit, in the soul, in the mind, in the body, from their enslavement. So that's what the wilderness is for. The wilderness is for purging. And I'm talking about spiritual wilderness, physical wilderness, but a physical wilderness will bring it out too, because of the uncertainty, you know what I'm saying, and the elements, and because you are kind of like, you're kind of at the mercy of whatever's happening out. Be sand, whether it be rain, whether it be cold, whether it be heat. Like, I've gone camping. How many people like camping? I've gone camping a number of times, and just to see the personality of the people change, who when they're inside and air conditioned with a seat and a bed, they all cool, but don't let them go camping. You see a person come out, you're like, what in the world is wrong with you? You will see the person who was just, oh, the mosquitoes, oh, the bugs, oh, the ground is cold, oh, the ground is wet, oh, I'm hot, oh, I'm cold. You will hear all of this chronic complaining because the space of homeostasis is very fragile. If you notice, you're around 98.7 degrees and you're comfortable. A little bit higher than that, you have a fever. A little bit colder than that, you know what I'm saying? You got hypothermia. So that space of being content is very fragile. And if we don't learn how to express it, but not necessarily complain or murmur or do all those things, that's very difficult. Let a hunger pain strike somebody. Oh, I'm hungry. I do it all day, every day. Let them get a hunger pain. Just not even just a little pink. Oh, I'm so hungry. Drink some water. I already drank it. And that's children. Adults are reduced to children in an instant. Right? And all of this stuff comes out in the wilderness. It's hard. It's too terrible to look at. I can't hear it. All of this stuff like this. But you want to get to your promised land. You want to get to that peace. You want to get to that abundance. You want to get to all of these things, but you don't want to pass through the wilderness. Kind of doesn't work like that. Some people get stuck in the wilderness. Some people perish in that mindset because it's you get discouraged because 40 years is a long time. I'm not saying everybody takes 40 years. I'm just saying, I'm talking about, as I'm talking about my experience. And I'm not saying everybody takes 40 years, but whatever period of time it is, you do have this range of emotions. Just the same way the desert is hot in the day and cold in the night and sandy and has all of these contrasting elements all at the same time. Those are the feelings and emotions that you may feel inside. But if you understand that it's fleeting and that just like the weather changes, emotions come and go and it's transient, and you hold on to the vision of whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, that goal, that promised land, if you hold on to these things, then you have something, you have a target that you're trying to hit. You know what I mean? And that's the beauty of it. Now, when some people get there, some people may navigate through it, and they get there, but they really didn't finish going through the process, then you lose all that you worked for. Or you compromise all that you worked for. What's up with the bus? All up in the 10. What time is it? Whoa. 9:27 up in this GC. Y'all got 30 minutes, babies. Put your book up. Yeah, so that's kind of what I wanted to share. 40 years, and after the wilderness comes the promised land, where you can see things clearly. You know what I'm saying? Stand at the mountaintop for a second. Whatever your 40-year mark, it could be 20, and then 40 years you start at 60, or whatever it is for you. Missy, why you in me gliding? I said, somebody gliding. All right, y'all. Take the babies to baby PE here. Hold on. Y'all want to come to baby? Y'all want to baby PE? Should I bring him? Bring them? The baby say nah.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
I'll bring my book so I can talk to y'all while the babies is doing baby PE. We're a little bit late though, y'all. We'll bring it didn't start with you. How about that? I wanted to touch on it. Hold on, let me get them into this class here. How you guys doing this morning?
Wait,
Come on, Shy.
wait, Mommy.
What?
The queen needs help learning. How much
Just-
time do the babies have?
Why you worried about it? Let's go, y'all.
I need more time for jumps.
What's the joke you're gonna get?
They're funny when they do.
So then go sit down and watch them.
I know. I just wondering how much time they have.
Woohoo! How y'all doing? Come on, Toots.
Mommy, with me in car.
That's what you're looking for? Oh, girl, talking about, Mommy, where's my lip balm? What's going on, y'all? Ha ha. Praise be to the Creator. Let me see. I'll let you know if I'm going to keep it going or have to come back later and talk about it. Didn't start with you. Hey, good morning.
Start back next week.
Y'all not open today?
No, next week.
Oh, that's just, no class.
See you guys next week.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye. Yeah, they was ready too. No class today. Uh-oh. Huh? There's no class at all today. Today's January the 8th. Free. Huh? Oh no. And it's kind of chilly. Well, y'all want to go to the park? Shy said, oh no. Huh? It's cold. Yo, homegirl is always ready to go to the park. Where? I gotta drive over there. It's kind of brick to be at the park, but they always ready to turn up at the park, yo. See, I had to teach them how to deal with disappointment too. Walk up, Shy. Why are you behind me like that? Walk across the street. Had to teach them to deal with disappointment. Because life is not always gonna go how you plan it. Like, we didn't know they didn't have no class today. Hey. Hello. Good morning. Get out the street there. Is it cold enough for you?
Well, I just did the jazzercise class, so I'm all
Oh,
sweaty.
you all sweaty. Okay. Come on. Oh. Whee. I got y'all all in my. Oh, I thought they was gonna be all up in PE, y'all. See, so they didn't even have it last week anyway, so y'all didn't miss anything. I didn't make them not. Good morning, everybody. Let me see here. Yep, they start back next January 15th. They start.
Oh, secret agent tag.
What?
Secret agent tag.
Nah, next week is 20-yard dash. They're gonna be racing. Freeze tag. I don't know what team log toss is. Anywho, all right, y'all sit down. It's kind of cold. We should wait till it warms up to go to the park. Let it warm up a little bit. Just a little bit. Put your seatbelt on. Anywho, peeps. To recap. Chill, we gotta go to the gas station. To recap, after the wilderness comes the promised land. The promised land is a physical place, but it's also a goal, a destination that you have. You know what I mean? And it's a roadmap that you have to develop the skill set. Not only do you lose certain things in the wilderness, you gain certain things when you develop the skill set to be able to survive or thrive. You know what I mean? Like being a transient, like a Bedouin or somebody who puts up tents is not easy. You have to, even the concept in coming out and doing vendoring, right? Street vendors. It's not easy. Because you gotta prepare your stuff and then you pack up all your stuff. Oh man, I should have went the other way. And I'm about to too. Turn around. Turn around. I'm about to turn around because I don't want to go that way. Ooh, 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 ooh. Turn around. This joker turning around too. Wait, mister. Hold on. Turn around. Yeah, so yeah, you gotta prepare the stuff. You gotta plan. You gotta prepare the stuff. Then you gotta pack up all the stuff, and then you gotta drive to your destination, and then you gotta unpack the stuff. Then you gotta set the stuff up. Then you sell the stuff, and whatever you have left for your equipment, you gotta pack back up and then take back to your location. Like, that's not easy. So when you see a street vendor, don't be hackling them, man. A street vendor is not an easy thing. My point is, imagine if that was your not only just occupation, your liberty. Like, you had to pack up your home, you know what I mean, set your tent up in another place, then unpack your stuff. And that's kind of what is being narrated or illustrated in the wilderness. They're packing up their stuff. They're unpacking their stuff. They're settling. Like, okay, let's go. So they're packing it all back up again. They're walking. So that will agitate anyone. If you look at the actual factuals of what was happening, you know what I mean? In the narrative, if you put yourself, because a lot of people try to make it just 2D, make it 3D. Make it 3D, make it come alive, and just seeing what you could compare it to get an understanding of what was happening. And then just being a vendor who goes to different affairs, it's not an easy thing. You got children, and I'm doing it with children. Okay? I'm doing it with children. So, to me, what lesson could I have learned from that? It taught me to pack, and I've moved a number of times in my life. And it has helped me in different ways. That you cannot be overly attached to material possessions. Because at the end of the day, when you do that ultimate move, you ain't all that stuff with you. You're just not. So being overly attached to material possessions is problematic. Because what seems light now, carry it for 50 miles, and then you tell me how light it is. Sorry about that, y'all. Anywho, it's gonna be a long break. That was a long break. A little time to slide. Just think about it. Think about it. It's a beautiful morning. What you gonna do? 61 degrees and rising. You know what happened just now? I actually did need to go the way they were sending me because I needed to go to the stove before I go to the shop. So we're gonna go to the stove. So I'm gonna go ahead and be out. Get up, get out, and get something, man. Get up, get out, and get something. Strive for betterment. Be encouraged. That when they say this too shall pass, it doesn't feel like it will pass when you're going through it, but it will pass. Feel good today. All praise be. Well, yeah. Today I'm easing into the whole event. You know how they do the whole event? Like my mother recounted to me what was happening during the time that I was coming into the earth. So, Which one? I don't know. Don't tell me. Hold on, YouTube. We'll be back at a later date. I'm going to run into the store real quick. Oh, help me. Help me. Help me. These children. These children ain't right. I'm sorry. Oh, my merciful Father. Oh, gosh. Yo. Oh, no, all right, you know. All right, YouTube. I'm going to run into the store. Ah. Hey, what's going on, LF? What's going on? These children is tripping up in here today, boy. I'm gonna come back in a little bit. I'm on some vibes today, y'all. I'm on some vibes today. Sometimes the slave narratives, I will say, slave narratives could kind of get you here, and that's why, like, for a while I had to stop reading, out loud, because it doesn't take me there as it used to. You know what I mean? I kind of level off a little better. But today is a vibesy day, you know what I'm saying? We're about to hit 4.0 in a little bit. And so we vibes in, giving thanks for clarity of mind and of heart, you know what I mean? For health and strength, and children, everybody is good, husband is good. So, yep. I'll talk to you guys soon. I'm running to the store.